let's talk about this basketball game, shall we? Like I said, I made a list of 10 things, which I'm going to get into in a minute, but it was just, look, it was good to see the team out there. I think their media day was over a week ago. Yeah, it was like a week and a half ago. It was 10 days ago. So there's been a lot of buildup. There's been a lot of anticipation. There's been some more, I won't even call them rumors. I would say there's been some more news nuggets to chew on than you might normally have during this time of year. I'm not actually sure that any other team in the NBA, I mean, putting aside the Kuminga situation, which finally got resolved in Golden State, I'm not sure that there's any other team in the NBA, at least not any good team in the NBA, where there's like extreme intrigue in roster, like who's going to make the final roster at this point in the preseason. But there certainly is for the Knicks. And we saw definitely some of that play out today, which why don't we get right into it? My number one thing, Pukome Dier. Not his play, although we will talk about that, but the fact that Pukome Dier started this game in place of OG Anunoby. The rest of the starting lineup was as we expected, although I guess there was still some mystery involved with the quote unquote fifth starter, whether it be Mitch or Hart or Deuce. We'll get to that in a second. But OG Anunoby out with, I guess, a sprained hand. Mike Brown said that he would be day to day, so it does not sound like this is anything to be really concerned about. I mean, who knows if it's actually a real injury? I would be willing to bet that it is not. And that this was all about getting Pukome Dier a chance to play with the best talent on the roster, a chance to make him look good, potentially for some other teams who might be interested in trading for him. Or I think just as likely, give him a chance to prove to the coaching staff, to the front office, hell, to his own teammates. They're like, hey man, I can help this team. And I want to go back to something and shout out to James Edwards III of The Athletic. He's been doing writing some great articles of late, covered the team last season, was awesome. Came on, spoke with me the other day. And I thought the most notable thing that he said when we were getting into like this roster situation is he's like, do the Knicks think that Pukome Dier is going to help them this season? And that sounds very present tense because it obviously is. And not really thinking about like, well, what might Pukome Dier be in year 2, year 3 or year 4 or whatever. I think that's how they're thinking about it. And I think part of why today was so notable is if they just are looking at him and be like, yeah, this guy is not going to be a guy who could help us win games this year. I don't know that we could keep him around. And then the only other thing I want to say to that point is like, look, have there been NBA players who have been not helpful, additions or contributors in year 1 and year 2, and then went on to again, be good players? Absolutely. Pukome Dier is still one of the youngest players in the NBA. He just was drafted over a year ago. I still, if like they're looking at him now and they're like, I don't know if we see it. I would say that in their mind, at least, that's a red flag. And yeah, if this was another organization that was not trying to win a championship this year, maybe that would be different. As far as what Dier did today, started off pretty rough, stepped out of bounds, not ideal. Traveled when picked up the ball when there was it's like he got the ball on an inbounds. There was a defender in the vicinity. He was like, whoa, there's someone standing right there. And he just like picked up the ball and forgot to dribble. But he also had some nice moments. He had a nice offensive rebound and a putback, which was cool. I thought he had a nice steal that showed some nice defensive anticipation, which is certainly, an area that maybe he's going to be judged by throughout the course of his career. Can he contribute on defense? The shot was not there. And ultimately, like he was 0 for 5 from 3. His one basket was that putback. Again, if like we've heard behind the scenes, the shot looks good, all that stuff. If he's not going to make shots, or if they don't think he's ready to make shots at the in-game action this year, I just think it's going to be hard for them to keep him around over someone like a Landry Shamet or Malcolm Brogdon. And we're going to get to them in a moment. But like I would say today for Dier, it's a mixed bag. That's number one. Number 2, Mitchell Robinson. I know Deuce McBride is the player of the game for a lot of people. Deuce McBride was awesome. I'm going to get to him very soon. But for me, it was Mitch. And it's not just because Mitchell Robinson had 16 rebounds in 18 minutes, which is like freaking awesome. He looked like he's in midseason form. He looked like a guy who was ready to pick up exactly where he left off in the playoffs, where you could argue that he was the most consistent player on the roster in terms of how he was able to impact the game on both ends of the floor. And that dude, it looked like the same guy who was out there today, albeit against a bad Sixers team who was obviously missing Joel Embiid and Paul George and the whole thing. But he was dominant. He was doing everything he wanted. And perhaps more importantly than that, it felt like the Knicks were trying to get him involved on the offensive end in ways that we maybe have not seen before. Yes, there were one or two instances where they tried to force passes into his hands. And we know how that goes because we've seen that for however many years Mitch has been in the league. Not generally a good idea. But there were also some other instances where I thought he made, took advantage of the opportunities to become a little bit more, again, involved in the offense. Might not be the right word, but like took 6 shot attempts, made 3, had an assist. And I think it's so notable. And this is why it's number 2 on my little list here, because I've been thinking for a while now, it's going to be Mitch that's going to start. I think Mike Brown kind of told you today it's going to be Mitch who's going to start. It is a tone-setting decision to start Mitchell Robinson and say, this is going to be our foundation. Yeah, we're going to do a lot of different stuff on offense, and yeah, we're going to try to hide some of our weak defenders and this, that, and the other thing. But you know that we are going to be a team when we walk out of the gate. It is going to be elite rim protection, elite pick and roll defense on one end of the floor, and it is going to be hell to pay on the other end of the floor if you do not box out or you are not on your P's and Q's around the basket, because this guy is just going to go grab everything. And like, shout out to our friends at Fanatic Sportsbook, partnering up with us for another year. Thank you to them. Really excited about that partnership. Like, folks, go out and whatever the Mitchell Robinson game 1, what do they play? They open against the Cavs. Whatever that rebounding over under is against Cleveland. I don't know if it's going to be 9.5, 10.5, whatever it is, bet the over. And then bet the over the game after that, and bet the over the game after that, and bet the over the game after that. Or at least that's what I'm going to be doing, because he looks like he is going to be in the running for, like, I don't know. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's 1/2 of one preseason game. But Mitchell Robinson looks really good. So, by the way, does Deuce McBride. And I love that I get to start off this post game talking about the 2 longest tenured Knicks on the roster. That's just really cool, as this team has undergone all these changes and made all these trades and gone all in, as they say, that these 2 guys are still here. And I think the fact that Deuce has been here for so long is part of the reason why a lot of people are, a little bit in their feelings over the thought of them potentially trading him. And to that, let me say 2 things. One, Deuce McBride's a really good basketball player. And I think sometimes I get caught up in like, well, what is his ceiling as a small guard who doesn't, initiate offense in the traditional ways? And, he is his size and he can only make up for that so much with his tenacity and all that stuff. But, defensively, it still is what it is. Forget all that. He is still a guy who can go in and give 20 to 25 good to really good to great minutes. And when he is on, and he was on today and he was feeling it, albeit in the second half against some backups, like, it really is a sight to behold. And you see him and you're like, this guy should at the very least be considered one of the best backups in the league. And that's what he is, which gets me to my second point. And like, I get people going crazy. Like, how are you going to trade this guy to make room for Landry Shamet and Malcolm Brogdon? And to my response to that is, I think a misconception needs to be addressed, which is that if the Knicks, and I don't think they are, were going to trade Deuce McBride, yes, I am sure that the apron situation is one reason that they would be doing it. It would be a benefit to whatever trade they wound up making. But that would not be the primary reason. It would not be anywhere close to the primary reason to trade Deuce McBride, because if you're trading a Deuce McBride, you're only doing it to make your team better today. And the only way that unless someone is willing to give you like a future unprotected first round pick, and I got news for you, no one's giving you a future unprotected pick for Deuce McBride, or even a lightly protected first round pick. Other than that, you're only doing it if you're making your team better today. And that means going and getting a player back for Deuce who is better than Deuce. And I just don't, I've written about this for the Knicks Film School newsletter. Shout out to all my Substackers out there. I just don't see that trade out there. And that's why ultimately look, maybe it happens. Again, shout out to Steph Bondy. He's been all over this. He has mentioned McBride as a name generating trade buzz. Again, I haven't talked to Steph about this. He's going to be on the show at some point, not too long. Obviously, the situation will be resolved by then, but I'll ask him, like, where is that coming from? My guess is that they are maybe testing the waters if they could get a team to give them something crazy, some crazy package, like overpay for Deuce. And again, even then, what is their definition of an overpay? Because it has to be so good, because this guy is going to help them win basketball games this year and for years to come, as long as he is on the roster. Okay, that's number 3. Number 4, Mike Brown and the players have talked a lot about changing how they play. And I thought you saw that in several ways. Again, shout out to Andrew. We were sitting here watching the game, and he kept like just shouting out random numbers. Like the Knicks would be bringing the ball up the court, and he'd be like 19. And then they'd bring the ball up the court next time. Like 20. And then bring the ball up next time. 21. And I'm a little slow, so it took me a while to realize what he was doing. It was how many seconds had gotten off the shot clock when they actually crossed half court. And then I started paying attention to it too. And it really was like 19, 20, 21 seconds. They were flying up the court. And not only that, when they crossed half court, there was a lot of passing. I wouldn't say there was overpassing, but like it was very clear that everybody on the floor, whoever it was, starters, backups, and all the way on down, was making an effort to make the next pass. And that was great. And who did I notice it with the most? And I'm going to get back to him a little bit later, but Karl-Anthony Towns. I made light of the fact in a recent newsletter that Karl-Anthony Towns, out of the top 100 or 120 most frequent drivers of the basketball in the league last year, literally no one passed out of those drives less frequently than Karl-Anthony Towns. To see him drive and kick to the corner was like, oh, you can do this. Maybe someone just needed to go to you and be like, hey, man, look for the corners. If you're driving and someone's over to the corner, make that pass. And then he actually, and that wasn't even my favorite pass he made. My favorite pass that he made was when he tried to hit Deuce coming around, like curling around a screen. He overthrew him a little bit, but I loved the intentionality there. I loved it. It was great to see that from Cat, and it was great to see the passing in general. That said, it will lead me to my 4th thing, which is this is going to be an adjustment. For as much as I think, at least with the starters, the offense was ahead of the defense, I do think, and I'm going to say it, for Jaylen Brunson in particular, I think it may take a little bit of getting used to. Like Jaylen Brunson has gotten, and I do not mean this in the slightest bit to be disrespectful, to be very clear, he has gotten very comfortable playing his way. And his way is like, hey, put the ball in my hands. I'm going to either get you a great shot, or I'm going to draw the defense in by dribbling the ball and doing all the crap that I do, and I'm going to get someone else a great shot. And it's really simple. It was simple offense, and it was a simple offense that got people very critical at times, especially during the playoffs, but it was efficient offense. And now they are asking Jaylen Brunson, at least in the first, 42, 43, 44 minutes of games, to be more of not a cog. I mean, he's Jaylen freaking Brunson. He's going to take over games at times, but to be more a part of the machine than the machine. And look, it's one preseason game. We'll see how he looks in 2 days. We'll see how he looks next weekend. We'll see how he looks over the first, couple weeks of the season. I think it's going to be a bit of an adjustment for him, and I don't blame him for that one bit. And as far as I'm concerned, like that is going to be the biggest test for Jaylen, because if he goes out there and it is a week or 2 weeks or a month and a half, and it's national stories about, well, shit, what's wrong with Jaylen Brunson? I'm not saying this is going to be the case, but let's just pretend that it was. he's going to have the confidence and the selflessness to be like, this is what is the best thing for our team long term, so I got to keep working at it. I hope it doesn't even come to that. I hope I'm going to be made to feel ridiculous if he goes out there in the next couple games and it's like, boom, it's like he's taking to this offense like a fish to water. But for me today, I was like, oh, okay, he's not quite there yet. What was that? That was number 5. Number 6, I probably should put this a little earlier. Some injuries, obviously the OG thing, that doesn't seem like it's anything. Josh Hart seemed to pull something in his lower back, and was like Steve Popper had that tweet that it looked like he was hurting like before he slipped. Like maybe the injury is what caused him to slip and fall on the floor, and then just the utterly ridiculous ejection. That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. So we hope Josh Hart is okay. I will use it as an excuse, though, to talk about, and this kind of ties into the Dier thing, although maybe not, wing depth on this team. This team does not have a lot of wing depth. They have Mikal Bridges, they have OG Anunoby, they have Josh Hart, and then ostensibly Pukome Dier is the next wing on the roster. But I'm not sure if that's how we should be looking at it. And the reason is because, we talked about Mitch and how Mitch started, and I think is going to start and play a decent amount of minutes. He played, again, 18 minutes in the first half today. So that was a goodly amount. I don't think he's going to average 36 minutes a game, but I think he'll play somewhere in the neighborhood 25 to 30. So if he's playing all those minutes, and then you're going to get your minutes, a lot of minutes, seemingly, with Karl-Anthony Towns and Yabusele, whether it's Cat at the 5 or Yabu at the 5. And then you got Hukporti out there, who started the second half, right? No, he didn't start the second half. He came in exchange for Yabusele, so he was a little bit into the second half. I don't know what that means about Hukporti's potential as a rotation player this year, or a first man up, maybe just outside the rotation. But like, you have Hukporti. We saw him play NBA games last year. He looked pretty good. So while the wing depth is a concern, I do think that if there was an injury to one of those main 3 wings, they could get by, because God knows they have a lot of guards. And if those other dudes can kind of hold it down with the 4 and the 5, I kind of think they'll be all right. So this isn't a huge concern for me. And it personally probably would not be a reason that I would be inclined to hang on to Dier if I was otherwise inclined to have him be the one that gets traded to open up the roster spots. But we'll see how that goes. Hopefully Josh Hart is okay. All right. That's a natural transition to my number 7 thing, lineups. I think lineups were probably between the starting lineup, between the different alignments that Mike Brown decided to use. I think that was probably the thing that people were most interested in going into today. And I wrote them all down on here's my stupid little Knicks notepad that I got when I was like 14. Wrote everything down, even though we have a Pivot Fade account. Shout out to Pivot Fade. And you could just look all this stuff up there. Like, I don't know that we should make anything out of any of these specific lineups. Like, Mike Brown was putting in, he put in Yabusele for like a possession and then took him out. He put in Tyler Kolek for a possession and then took him out. Like, I think that was early in the second half. But like, I think at this stage of the preseason, especially these 2 games, and he's kind of admitted this already, he's just seeing how different combos work. Me and Andrew made sure we got this one down pat. There were 2 minutes and 55 seconds of true 5-out ball in the first half. Most of that time was the lineup with Karl-Anthony Towns, Jaylen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Yabusele, and Landry Shamet, although Deuce came in for Shamet for about 39 seconds. So we did get some 5-out ball. And I think we will see 5-out ball. I think, and 2-3 minutes a half, I could see that being about where it lands. Because especially if just do the math. If Mitchell Robinson starts and Josh Hart comes off the bench, well, then you're probably going to have some decent amount of time where either Mitchell Robinson or Josh Hart is on the floor, as opposed to both of them. And by the way, that's probably a good thing, because who wants 2 non-shooters on the floor, even though those lineups have actually done pretty well. And I do think you will see Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart played together a decent amount this year. All this is to say, I think you will probably get a few minutes every half, 5 minutes a game, something like that, where you get, again, the true 5-out look. Maybe it's going to be Yabusele and Cat. Maybe it's going to be McBride with the other starters in place of one of the wings. Who knows? Maybe it's going to be McBride in place of Jaylen Brunson. I'm curious. That's what I'm curious about. So I don't know if you want to take the fact that the vast majority of the 5-out minutes were basically were Cat, Brunson, Bridges with Shamet and Yabusele. If you want to take that to mean something, that's up to you. I'm not drawing too many conclusions just yet, but transition to point number 8, which is the roster. So what do we make of this? What do we make of the fact that Landry Shamet, not Malcolm Brogdon, got the first half minutes and played with the starters? He was getting like good opportunities to go out there. I thought he looked good. He looked spry on defense as always. I didn't even think to check his stat line here. He was 0-2 from 3, 1 of 4 overall. Sorry, I talk about burying the lead. I meant to mention this during the play style point earlier. The Knicks got up 39 threes today. We heard Mike Brown say the goal was 40 a game. They put up 39. That's fine. They were very clearly making an effort to shoot threes. So take note of that. They couldn't hit the far side of a barn, but thankfully neither did Philadelphia 76ers. Were 3 of 35 from deep. That's not great. So they were cold, but look, 39 threes. That's great. And then shout out to Ben Kim Gervey, who's always looking out for this. 91 shots overall, so speaks to their pace of play, and that's great. So Shamet, first half minutes. Malcolm Brogdon, second half minutes. I thought Malcolm Brogdon looked pretty good. And then Tyler Kolek, felt like something of an afterthought today. Although it closed well, which was good. He made, he was aggressive. Took, I think, 3 shots in the last 4 or 5 minutes. Made a couple of them. Around the basket. That's good. That's what Tyler Kolek needs to be doing. So that's a positive sign. I'm not sure how to read this. Again, James came on with me the other day and was like, in his mind, it's almost a given that Brogdon's going to make this roster. I've kind of felt for a while. I think Shamet is all pretty much guaranteed. They know what they have in Shamet. He's a great locker room guy. He's clearly a dude who's okay sitting 5, 10, whatever number of games, and then coming in hey, we need you for 15 minutes a game for the next 2 weeks because somebody's out. He's fine with that. Whereas Brogdon, I did find it kind of interesting, the Bondi article, and shout out to Steph Bondi for getting all those quotes on the record. I'm not that I'm saying he's, Brogdon said anything wrong, but for Brogdon to come out and be like, I expect to be a part of this rotation. If Mike Brown isn't sure whether Malcolm Brogdon's going to be an every night part of this rotation, does that make them less inclined to even keep him on the roster? And then maybe all this trade discussion just goes away. Maybe they just cut Malcolm Brogdon and it's just Landry Shamet is the vet that they keep. I don't know, but it just depends on how you want to take the reporting, because the reporting has been, pretty clear that Brogdon's going to make the team. And again, I don't know. He didn't play until the second half. We'll see. Maybe he gets some first half minutes, or maybe, maybe he's actually cool with being a guy who only comes in once every 3 games or once every 4 games. But when he gets that opportunity, he's playing 25 minutes. I don't know. I can't get a read on the situation yet, but I do think it's worth thinking about. Number 9, I'm going to steal this point from someone. I don't care that I'm stealing it from them. They know who they are, and they'll hear me steal it from them. And if they want to come and take credit for it next time they're on a show, they can do that. Mikal Bridges' shot. I thought it looked. I didn't think of it, but after it was brought up, I'm like, you know what? That's a great point. I thought his shot looked better. I thought his shot looked smoother, and contrasting it with all of the pearl clutching from the last preseason and obviously last season, I think that's a great thing. He was, where did he go from 3 today? I mean, nobody hit 3s today, but he was 2 of 5. So that's great. Yeah. If he is going to be a good 3-point shooter this year and like approach 40% from deep and like makes him above the break threes, well, that's freaking really good. Now he just needs to get the defense up to snuff. And last but not least, and then we'll get to super chats and a word from our friends at Fanatics. Karl-Anthony Towns. For anybody who's been consuming our summer content, you will know that I have kind of been test driving this role of the cat hater. Mostly because it's my way. It's my way of dealing with my emotions that are left over from last postseason. And maybe that's not the most healthy way to deal with those emotions, but it's the way that I deal with them. So, to each their own. And here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with hating on Karl-Anthony Towns. He's a delight to watch. Is he a delight to watch in a massive playoff game when the stakes are ratcheted up to the nth degree and every mistake stands out and is magnified tenfold? No. Then he is less fun to watch. But during before the middle of April, when he goes out there and he's just he's having fun, he's great attitude towards this stuff, and he's just a brilliant basketball player. He's just really good, and he can still do things that nobody else can really do, and it all comes so easy to him. And so it was nice to see Karl-Anthony Towns, and yes, this is my way of throwing Karl-Anthony Towns and the Karl-Anthony Towns hive. Can an All NBA player have a hive? I don't know if they can, but I wanted to throw a little olive branch there. It was great to watch. Guy. I'm trying to think if there's anything I missed. What's his name? Garrison Matthews got some run. I should probably mention that he was lighting it up from deep, went 3 or 4 from downtown. Quick trigger. Doesn't need a lot of room. I can't sit here and tell you why Garrison Matthews has not latched on with an NBA team. I mean, he is a shooter with good size, and he is a shooter. I don't know. Is he a dark horse to be a vet that makes this team? I have no idea. We got some Mohamed Diawara minutes. It was nice to see him flying around out there. Kevin McCullough, thanks for participating. He was 0-6 from the field. It's tough noogies there. Jordan Clarkson. Let's end the monologue with this. Shout out to Jordan Clarkson and shout out to Andrew Claudio who made sure we rewound to get this exactly right. Jordan Clarkson taking a off the dribble pull up long 2 with 12 seconds left on the shot clock was easily the best moment of this preseason game. Andrew Claudio was aghast when Jordan Clarkson did this. And that was utterly delightful. He is going to have fans, some fans, pulling their hair out by week 2, 3.
Yeah, he already has me pulling my hair out in the preseason, John. He is clearly here for a good time, not a long time. So just to reiterate what John is saying, Knicks fans. So
it's a preseason game, man.
I get it. But the we're watching, and sometimes you're trying to take notes, you're scrolling Twitter, and you're trying to just focus on the game, checking box scores. I look up, and it seemed as if they had just inbounded, and he took a step inside the 3-point line, contested, and just took a step back long 2. And I was like, was the shot clock winding down? And you're like, no. It's like, well, then why did he shoot? I turned into Patrick Ewing in the huddle. How often do you shoot that shot? Who told you to shoot that shot? You practiced that shot? When? And so, Knicks fans, I literally rewound the game, hit back 15 seconds twice to see that, he just wanted to take a long 2 with 14 seconds left on the shot clock. It was hilarious.
We're going to, I'll ask you a question before we get to Fanatics. Is Jordan Clarkson your leader in the clubhouse for the 9th highest average minutes on this team?
More plays like that, yes, but I think he's eventually going to find a nice role as a scorer off the bench for this team, like a bucket getter. So based off today, I would say Yabu is your highest, but that could change, of course.
There's something about, and let's lean on Ian Begley's reporting. Ian's going to be coming on the show early next week, so we'll ask him about this. But like the thing with them being very intrigued with Yabu playing with Mitch and Yabu playing with Cat, it's almost like and I don't know if Mike Brown feels the same way, but like, does the front office view him as this like skeleton key that they could kind of, shout out to Fred, have their cake and eat it too? I don't know. That's the only reason I would say Clarkson averages the 9th most minutes on the team as of now.
Probably a safe bet. There's also the games that Mitch doesn't play that might lead to more Yabu minutes.
That's absolutely a great point.
So yeah, Clarkson 9th. I don't know if that necessarily matters. They have 7 de facto starters, whatever you want to call Deuce, you know?